to bubble and boil, particularly with Michael Andretti, who's now up into second position. There you can see is Adrian Fernandez. He's back down into third place. So Andretti, who was the main winner on the first round of pit stops, he moved up the order several places. There is Andretti in the black car now with the silver crash helmet, the famous colours that his father used so successfully as well. Now into second place. Fernandez is down to third. Greg Moore in fourth place. Look at that, Alonso Jr. in fifth, running a great race so far in the Penske. The main loser in that first round of pit stops, no doubt about that, was Gilles de Ferran. He moved down to sixth place, having been in runner-up spot before the stops. So de Ferran losing out. Zanardi up to seventh, but also still running well, Tony Kanaan. Dario Franchini's dropped down a bit. He's now down to 10th position. And as for Mark Blundell, he's having a bit of a tough time at the moment. He's down in 15th position. Teammate Mauricio Gugelmin's not doing a great deal better in 12th place. So while the Pac West guys perhaps regretting their decision to go for the 1997 chassis and Mercedes-Benz engine, up the front, Michael Andretti is now seeing whether he can close that gap up to Jimmy Vasser.
Michael trying to catch up to Jimmy Vasser, but I noticed Jimmy Vasser driving along, and Patrick Carpentier came by and just drove right by Jimmy Vasser as if he was standing still to get one of his laps back. So that was a pretty interesting move. Also, Scott Pruitt was able to do the same as he went by. So now an interesting run with Vasser out front, Michael 4.85 seconds behind, and that is Paul Tracy. He's behind right now, coming up on. And then in third, it is Fernandez fourth, Alonso Jr. fifth, Greg Moore. I saw Greg Moore execute an amazing maneuver in the front stretch. He came from the outside, ducked down and went through a middle of three cars and then back outside around two other cars that were running as a pack of five. It was an amazing move. Very brave young man, 22-year-old. His 23rd birthday coming up next month.
Indeed, well, he certainly proved himself very effectively. We've got an average speed already of 200 miles an hour in this race, and that's a very impressive high-speed action so far. No yellow flag so far. I dare not speak too soon, I suppose, but we've gone through to lap number 60 without any yellow flags on this brand new track, and you have to say that's a good effort from the drivers, really settling themselves in. First time they've run in aggressive racing circumstances, and definitely creating this sort of vortex that actually follows them around the track. When you get a number of cars going around a fairly small oval like this, it disturbs the whole air pattern around the whole track, so all of them having to get used to that for the first time, and yet nobody has been caught out. And in fact, through all the practice that we've seen so far this weekend, only one guy has had a big hit, that was Greg Moore.
That was the only major hit of the weekend. Greg Moore, who demolished his car, actually the right-hand side. What happened, he was going for a gear. He was trying to go from fifth down to fourth. Somehow it selected second instead. And of course that wound everything up, spun him around, put him into the wall sideways. It actually damaged his, gave him some bruising on his knees, and he was racing with some knee pads on today to protect him from getting beaten up in the cockpit. But his car, they may as well leave it in Japan because it's not repairable.
No, bad news for Greg Moore in that respect, and he's wearing some knee pad protectors as he drives today, but otherwise doesn't seem to be too badly affected. It was a very heavy hit against the wall. They didn't actually have the figures from the data logging as to how many Gs were pulled. I don't think they really wanted to know, to be honest. We're watching Richie Hearn at the moment. Don't forget the red colours this year. We got so used to them over the last few years being those of Christian Fittipaldi, but no more Budweiser sponsorship involved in the Newman Haas team. So that means that Richie Hearn now has the red colours of Budweiser, and the firm that's actually sponsoring this race in Japan as well, trying to make it a whole American scene here in Japan, and a good number of spectators coming along to enjoy the whole situation. But Richie Hearn running competitively, running in 14th position, just outside the points at the moment.
A good view of a day in the office for Richie Hearn as he races his Swift around. Richie has come on very strong and very good. Actually sort of his fifth year of competition. They've been doing various races here and there over the last 5 years and ran a number of the IRL races before making a full commitment with John Della Penna to run this series, the Champ Car series. Oh, and there we see JJ Leto out in his Hogan Reynard Mercedes with what looks like probably an electrical problem, I should imagine, Ben.
Yeah, well,
it seems to be.
It always seems to be. They often put it down to that. So bad news again for the Finn. He's had a bit of a bad luck start to the season so far, as he had problems in the first race, although he did finish up as top rookie in that first race. He was in 14th place, just outside the point. Nonetheless, he was top rookie there. This time, obviously, some more problems. But let me tell you, while that's going on, Michael Andretti is definitely closing up the gap to Jimmy Vasser. A few laps ago, on lap number 58, the gap was 4.8 seconds. Now the gap is down to 2.1 seconds, and Andretti is definitely closing on Jimmy Vasser. So the race already is building up. He's got to lap Michel Jourdain here. Jourdain had some problems earlier on, but this again could give Michael Andretti the chance. But watch out for Scott Pruitt as well.
Scott Pruitt's trying to get his lap back. He's running in 11, and he had got by Jimmy once before. Jimmy obviously got him right back. Now Michael Andretti coming in down the inside.
And look at this, this is the battle for the lead now. Jimmy Vasser on the outside, Michael Andretti on the inside, looking to try and take the lead of this race, but Jimmy says not yet. Not yet, there's no chance yet of coming back.
Comes poor Tracy.
That's right, Tracy getting his lap back on Michael Andretti, using the situation that the leaders are battling away there to get his lap back. And don't forget how important it is for a lapped car to try and get back on the lead lap. It is a valid battle, and that's what Tracy's trying to do, but Andretti's back down the inside of him, puts him down that lap, and goes chasing after Jimmy Vasser. Great dicing we're watching here amongst the leaders, and Andretti now trying to close up again on the Ganassi car of Jimmy Vasser.
Now this early in a race, you don't really normally see them fight this aggressively. It's early, the key thing...
Look at this, he's really got the brilliant draft now. Surely he's going to be able to go past, and Michael Andretti does it easily in the end. He just picked up the toe beautifully there and was able to draft past Jimmy Vasser as if he was standing still. And Andretti now, the winner of the Homestead race, the season opener, has taken over the lead of this second race of the season. And the way he's going at the moment, can anybody stop him? Vasser in second position. In third place now, though, Alonso Jr., only a couple of seconds himself behind Jimmy Vasser.
And Alonso Jr. with 31 wins, Michael Andretti with 37. These two guys lead respectively the overall wins. These guys are very, very aggressive. And when it comes to having a competitive car on a 1 mile or 1.5 mile oval, you look at the record books. Winners, Michael Andretti and Alonso Jr. all the way.
Fantastic, look at that, started in 14th place, but don't forget, we say he started a long way down. He started in 14th place last year at Homestead and went on to win the race, so it's not something he hasn't done before, and now he's already opened a couple of seconds advantage over Jimmy Vasser, with next up behind him, only less than a second behind, Alonso Jr. So it really has changed a great deal over the last few laps as Andretti has worked his way up, used that first pit stop, brilliant first pit stop from the Newman-Haas team. That helped him as well, and now he's in front.
And the Swift certainly seems to like the short ovals, as we saw at Miami and here. The key thing is it going to like the road circuits and the super speedways and the street courses that we go to? Of course, the next race, of course, just 1 week away, the street course of Long Beach, and you need the car that performs well on all circuits.
That's right, but you have to say Michael's very confident about the performance of the car. He reckons that they found something very fundamental with last year's car on the road courses that meant it didn't work, and it was something they couldn't change until they put the 1998 car through the design process and built the new car. So it must have been something, I don't know what it was, something very fundamental. They're not saying, but maybe weight distribution or something like that they really could not change on last year's car, but this year they feel as though they've got it taped.
They've got it all sorted out this year. Scott Pruitt was just a few moments ago excited about getting his lap back off Jimmy Vasser. Well, he's about to lose it again as the new leader, Michael Andretti, is going to try and put him a lap down. Poor Tracy, though, still battling there. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. And there you see Alonso Jr., who is now up to second position, 2.95 seconds behind our leader, Michael Andretti. And we do have it confirmed that JJ Leto is out with electrical problems, and Brian Herter is also out with clutch problems on his entry. So a tough break for Brian Herter, still looking for his first win in the CART series. He's come very, very close a couple of times. And I'm sure the memory of Laguna with Alex Zanardi will live with him for a long time.
So disappointing, we've got a few retirements already, and I suppose we've got to expect that on a track like this. They're running very high speeds, and they really haven't had any rest at all so far, been flat out from the word go, from the green flag coming out, and already we've got 3 retirements with PJ Jones, JJ Leto out now as well, so no chance for him to score any points in the rookie chase, and Brian Herter out of the equation too. Everyone else still running at the moment, although number 19 car of Michel Jourdain is some 11 laps behind the race leader now, so he's very much out of the equation, but he is still running at the moment. They've had their problems. Let me tell you, though, that Al Unser Jr., you're watching him at the moment, is maintaining a gap of under a second between himself and Michael Andretti. And what great news this is for Penske. Look at the way he's right in the middle, but watch out for Adrian Fernandez. Fernandez is in this battle too. And Fernandez trying to get back into second place, using that traffic to take advantage of Al Unser Jr. Unfortunately, our Japanese director has decided to take this moment to switch to look at race leader Michael Andretti. We want to know what's going on in that battle for second place, because Adrian Fernandez in the green and red machine had a great chance to get back past Al Unser Jr.
He had a great run down the inside and looked like he was going to get Al Unser Jr. Now we don't see Fernandez. We're not sure if he's ahead or behind, whether he was able to make the move. He is behind. He didn't get the move in, but that was an amazing run down off the inside.
So Unser Jr. holds on to second place, but the traffic costing him some time there. And there you can see Fernandez just a little further back. I was just about to say, though, this new Penske car really is beginning to work now. And what relief as much as anything else, but what delight for the Penske team, the Penske crew who built this car in England, in Poole in Dorset, who put this car together. John Travis, the designer, and it's his first car, remember, the first true John Travis design this year. Completely different car to the car that's been run and developed over the last few years. They've had their problems in testing, they've had their reliability problems to get this car running as it should be. But in Miami, Ribeiro was on the front row. He ran well until they had a mysterious vibration problem. And now, Al Unser Jr. is up there, 1.6 seconds now behind Michael Andretti, but he's maintaining the pace, and it's great news to see, and it's also good news for Goodyear, because they've got two Goodyear cars, 1 and 2. Up
front. They did say right before Homestead they had found something fundamentally wrong with the Penske, and they were going to be able to correct it by the time they got to Japan, which is what they've done. And obviously, it's proving to be very good for them, because Al Jr. running very well up in second, and Al Jr. hasn't won a race since 1995 at Vancouver, so no one would be happier. But a lot of people were giving him grief, saying it was him, he wasn't performing well. And of course, it turned out to be the car, and Ribeiro puts it on the front row at Miami, but they had problems there. They discovered that problem, and now they fixed it and running very well here in Motegi.
I'll tell you what, though, he's slowed down over the last couple of laps, as Al Unser Jr. We're focusing on Michael Andretti, but let me tell you, the gap has suddenly grown to over 5 seconds between Andretti and Unser. Massive gap. And Unser's now got Fernandez breathing right down his neck again in second place. And in fact, Gilles de Ferran, while we've been watching all this action up front, let me tell you that Gilles de Ferran has moved up the order again. He's now moved back into 4th position, up from 6th, and in fact down to 6th place has gone Jimmy Vasser. So we've seen some big change arounds going on here.
Jimmy was leading this thing about 5 laps ago. Now he's down to 6th position.
Yeah, it's all changed. Let's just run through the order for you quickly. Andretti leads, Unser second, Fernandez in 3rd place, Gilles de Ferran in 4th position. Greg Moore still running in 5th place. As you can see, he's been running consistently up there throughout the afternoon so far, but not really getting into the top 3 yet. Then in 6th place is Jimmy Vasser, ahead of Tony Kanaan. Bobby Rahal's moved his way up, and there you can see Bobby. On board with Bobby now in 8th place, ahead of Zanardi and Frank Kitty, with 11th place for Paul Tracy, Scott Pruitt in 12th, then Mauricio Guterman outside the points in 13th. Castro Neves has been working his way up through the order well, now in 14th place ahead of Christian Fittipaldi, and then in 16th place, Marc Blundell ahead of Patrick Carpentier, Walter Salles, Max Papis and Andre Ribeiro.
Christian Fittipaldi has done extremely well to work his way back up to 15th. Don't forget, he went all the way to the back to 30th. He's still a lap down, but he's worked his way back up to 15th, which is very good. And the other interesting thing, we're now at lap 86. Now, the first pit stops came on lap 44, so potentially we're going to see our next round of pit stop any lap now, around about lap 88.
Yeah, it won't be far away now, that's for sure. As we've got a problem for car 6. Apparently, Michael Andretti is slowing down. Andretti is reported to be slowing down. Let's see if we get a chance to see what's going on. Oh, Michael slowed right down, and it's not just a normal pit stop, this one. Michael is slow on the backstretch by the looks of things. Oh, what disappointment. What is going on for Michael Andretti? It means that Al Unser Jr. is now in the lead of this race. That's the first time since 1996 at Road America. But look at this disappointment for Michael Andretti, the winner of the first race of the season, The man who has been looking so strong in terms of the championship before we've really started, so confident in testing as well, and suddenly something has gone all wrong for Michael Andretti. A lot of cars coming into the pits now. It is time for the second round of pit stops. Surely, Guy, it can't be something as easy as running out of fuel.
Wow, that was a good speculation there, Ben. I just can't imagine that they would miscalculate that much. It could have only just now hit lap 88, and they've done a couple of laps since. It's going to be, I would guess, again, electrical, maybe a turbo problem. There has been some turbo problems over the weekend for some of these guys.
Well, whatever it is, Michael Andretti trying to coast his way down to the Newman-Haas pit, but they're quite a long way down the pit lane. They're about 2/3 of the way down the pit lane.
And there you see Greg Moore came in. Greg Moore came in to make his pit stop. There's Gilles de Ferran, who has made his and got back out, as these guys are making regular scheduled pit stops. But Michael Andretti is right in the way. There you see Andre Ribeiro pulling out too. And the crew will be running up pit lane now, trying to gather him, and they'll try and push him back down, but they've got a long way to go. And obviously it's a terminal problem, or a long haul pit stop problem, so this bit's not really costing them that much more time.
There they are, you're right, the crew's got to him. You can see them running down the pit lane, trying to get him down there, and well, they are allowed to do that, and they've got to watch their backs a little bit. Worrying situation, even though the pit speed limit is 60 miles per hour. It's a bit scary when you've got cars bearing down into the pits.
Oh, another thing too, down in the pit area, you're wearing those headphones, and as loud as these cars are, when they come down, you don't necessarily hear them too, so you really got to keep an eye out and be on your toes in pit lane.
Michael's shaking his head, he can't believe it. What's going on? Dropping lap after lap behind. He's 4 laps down on the race leader now. Al Unser Jr. leading this race at the moment from Adrian Fernandez. Jimmy Vassar's moved back up into 3rd as a result of the various woes that are going on, particularly to Michael Andretti. Oh, it seems such a long way down this pit lane.
This has got to be the longest time he has ever had down pit road. This must be so irritating. He had a very, very strong car. We saw him pick up that time difference. He came from 14th to take the lead in a big lead. And then it all goes wrong. That Andretti luck strikes again. And now Al Unser Jr., and as you pointed out, Ben, leading for the first time since Elkhart Lake. And when he did lead at Elkhart Lake, of course, that all went up in a huge cloud of smoke at turn 14. As now Adrian Fernandez comes up behind and has gained a lot of ground, 0.37 seconds behind, but Fernandez could be looking to take the lead too. We've got a Mercedes up front, a Ford in 2nd, and a Honda in 3rd. Good battle there. We've got Goodyear, Firestone, Goodyear, Firestone, a Penske chassis, and then 2 Reynolds.
Well, it's certainly a lot to watch at the moment, but I watched Michael Andretti there in the pit lane, and it looked as though they were simply putting fuel in and putting tyres on that car. Now, are we going to see him come back out again? Michael Andretti trying to come back out again, and apparently there's some sort of penalty he might pick up as well in the pit lane. There was some pit lane violation for Michael Andretti, but we'll just have to go and check that, whether he's got back out.
When it rains, it pours.
It always does, doesn't it? But he's so far down that it's not really worth worrying about.
But I think, Ben, that goes back to your speculation, as could it have been fuel? It looks like it was just fuel, and that's why we see him so frustrated that they made that simple miscalculation. Very unusual when they've got all that telemetry and the computer readouts that they do that anymore. I mean, sometimes sure they gamble at the end of a long run towards the end of a race to try and squeeze out. As now Al Unser Jr. makes his pit stop on lap 95. He's managed to stretch it longer than anybody else.
That's right. It's amazing that it could have run out of fuel unless they didn't get all the fuel on board in that first pit stop.
And the other thing is, of course, a lot of times they have problems with the picking up the fuel that's in the tank, and they may discover there was 2 or 3 gallons in there, but the pumps just weren't pumping it out, and that sometimes happens on these ovals. So sometimes they've actually put 2 pickup pumps in the fuel tank, fuel cell. Zanardi making his pit stop along with Al Unser Jr.
Yeah, that's right. And Fernandez not shown into the pits yet, so Fernandez stays out there for a bit longer. Zanardi back out fairly quickly. Unser Jr. has a pretty good stop there from the Penske crew, as Al in front of this race when he was before the pit stops. Now we just got to wait to see what happens to Adrian Fernandez. Remember, Fernandez was right behind Unser before that second round of pit stops. So if he gets a really good stop with the Patrick crew, then it's a good chance that he could stay ahead when he comes back out. Zanardi just building back up to speed. It's interesting to see how long it takes. It really does take a while, even though these 800 brake horsepower machines accelerate so quickly. there's a lot of momentum to build up.
And there's an example as Max Papis just blew by him right there, as Zanardi is still trying to get some heat into the tyres and get back out and get up to speed. We also saw Scott Pruitt pull off into pit lane to make his pit stop. He was listed as the leader after Zanardi and Unser came in. And as you point out, it's going to be interesting to see how close Fernandez and Unser are running again. So now we see Andre Ribeiro working his way up through the field. Andre is all the way back in 18th right now, but it's got to be encouraging to him to see his teammate leading.
Remember, he's so far down because of that front nose cone change that he did earlier on in the race. Just got news that Roberto Moreno is out of the race with transmission failure, so the Brazilian out of luck on this occasion. His second race in the Project IndyCar. And there, yes, indeed, this is an important stop. Is he going to come out now? It's not so much a question of where he comes out, but where he manages to build up the speed and get back up to pace in time to stay ahead of Alonso Jr. Now, Adrian's coming out of the pit. Alonso Jr. is going into turns 1 and 2, where Fernandez will have just been accelerating through to pick up the speed. Fernandez will be on the backstretch somewhere now.
Yeah, just off to the left, we saw Adrian.
Looks as though, Alonso Jr. has done enough to retain the lead with Adrian Fernandez coming into the pits. That'll clear as he comes across the line this time.
You know, one to watch out. We haven't mentioned him much. He's been quiet all day, but he's been right up there. Number 99, Greg Moore, who had that stunning finish at Miami. And he is now running in third position. We have a yellow flag.
Well, there you go.
Christian Fittipaldi.
Christian Fittipaldi with the Ford engines blown up. We're exactly at half distance, and we get our first yellow flag of the entire race. The pit lane is closed at the moment. That's what the P
I wouldn't
means.
want to be around the Newman-Haas hospitality tent right now. It's not going to be much fun there with Christian Fittipaldi. Look at all that smoke coming out of his blown motor. And, of course, with Michael Andretti having that problem, which we are thinking that was a case of just miscalculating fuel, or maybe not picking up the fuel, but running out of fuel, because he is back out on the track, but many laps down right now. Christian had done so well to come back up the field after an early problem.
Now, a bit of tactics going on here with Roger Penske, and these guys are amongst the best in terms of calling. Now, don't forget, everybody has just been into the pits. They've only just finished a round of pit stops, so I wonder whether anybody will in fact take advantage of this yellow flag to come in. But what Roger might do is try and do something tricky with Andre Ribeiro, because Ribeiro, remember, is several laps down, courtesy of that nose cone change earlier on.
What I'm thinking is at lap 101, we figured that they were doing about 45 laps. Here is a replay of Christian Fittipaldi's huge cloud of smoke. Did well not to get into any trouble with any liquids getting on the rear wheels and sending him to a spin or anything there, but brings it down nicely off the racing line, keep the oil and stuff off the track. They'll have to obviously put some quick dry down and get that car cleared up. But just thinking like the captain, Roger Penske here, if you can get 45 laps in a pit stop and you bring your guy in now on the last lap of this yellow, which would be around about maybe 105, you could go this race, even though they've just come in, you could go this race with just one more pit stop at about lap 150.
That's right. It would be a very close call, but we may well see somebody decide to try and make that call. The pit lane's still closed at the moment. We'll see as they come round this time. We should see the plus sign go out, and that means that drivers on the lead lap only are allowed into the pit lane, and then we'll see whether any of the team managers decide that this is a good time to make another pit stop and to just top up the fuel cell before they get on to the next section of race. Pretty fortunate there in that instant. You were saying there how Christian was lucky that he didn't spin on his own fluids. It was quite fortunate that nobody else did either, because there was such a cloud of smoke.
It was a huge cloud.
It really looked as though somebody might get into trouble there. The pit lane is open, we've heard. Now, are we going to see any of these front guys come into the pits, or are they going to say, nope, we've just made our stop, we don't need to top up anymore, we can't gain anything from that. There is Christian walking back, a disconsolate Christian Fittipaldi, and what a bad day, as you say, it's turned out to be for the Newman-Haas team. Michael Andretti back out there, but some 6 laps now behind the leader, due, as it looked to us, purely through running out of fuel. Now, whether that was a pickup problem or a amount of fuel didn't go in correctly on the first stop, we haven't really heard yet, but great disappointment for the crew. Now, it certainly looks as though the leaders, at least, are not going to come in on this round.
Right, and I think we may see some of the back markers. A good chance right now to set the field for you as they are in single file behind the pace car. Run down the top 5 at least. Alonso Jr. and then Adrian Fernandez in second, Greg Moore in third. In fourth, it is Bobby Rahal, and in fifth, it is now the car of Gilles de Ferran.
This race is at last going to get underway after some 12 laps of yellow flag racing. Alonso Jr. picks up the throttle out of into turn 3, then out of turn 4 onto the front stretch, and Alonso Jr. begins to open up the advantage again. He hopes over Adrian Fernandez. Watch out for Scott Pruitt. He's trying to get a lap back in the silver car on Greg Moore. Scott Pruitt is Adrian Fernandez's teammate. The two cars running well, but Scott Pruitt not as well up in the overall order of things. A lap down on Alonso Jr. and running in 11th place. Good start, though, for Junior.
Of course, don't forget, Scott Pruitt is a teammate to Adrian Fernandez this year. They just have totally different paint jobs, but both racing for Patrick. Adrian, of course, bringing the Quaker State and Ducati sponsorship with him. Scott Pruitt in the all-grey car with the Vistion sponsorship, which is a division of Ford, and they sponsor they sponsor the Paynos car in the World Sports Car Racing, and this car right here, so a big effort for them.
Watch Fernandez.
Getting very close, Adrian. We saw how quick he was at the beginning of the race. Now on a new set of tyres. They made some pit stops, but right after they went with the pit stops, we had the yellow, so these tyres haven't seen much action. Goodyear out front, Firestone in second.
Yeah, and Fernandez is really beginning to put the pressure on Alonso Jr. again. Fantastic to see both these guys after such a difficult season for the two of them in 1997. Now they're battling for the lead of a race, and they must feel so good about that. Fernandez again in the early part of a stint showing great pace, just as he did at the beginning of the race when he started on the front row, was able to pull away from Jimmy Vasser. The question is, will it last, though? He lost that pace after about 25 laps or so. The pace wasn't there. He started to drop down the order, and it could be the same again. At the moment, though, the car is working well, and he's pulling away from Alonso Jr., who's now got Greg Moore bearing down on him. Watch out for the blue and white car. The Canadian is now beginning to make his presence felt.
Of course, Adrian Fernandez, good friends with Alonso Jr. They both lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico for a while. Adrian decided to move in with the Unses, because if he was going to learn about oval racing in the CART series, those are the guys to learn from, the Unser family. So they got pretty pally. Then he moved to Detroit, Adrian, and now has actually moved back to Phoenix. Al Jr. still calling New Mexico his home, though, the family down there.
Well, we got a yellow flag again, apparently. Yellow flag being shown once more. And, and it's Zanardi. Zanardi has demolished the right front of his Ganassi Reynard, and this is a major story. Look at that. He's hit the wall hard. Can't spot exactly where that is at the moment. But Alex Zanardi, who was running in 8th position before the yellow flag came out, before he made contact with the wall, is out. The man who finished 3rd in the season opener, the reigning champion, has come to an early end to the race here in Japan.
Well, he's not going to be faster than lightning or Ida 10 for the rest of this race. So you see the team boss, Chip Ganassi, and then Mo Nunn sitting alongside him. Mo Nunn retires every year, and Chip manages to persuade him every year to come back.
Yeah, that's right, an important part of the team, but Alex Zanardi out of this one, and it's going to take a little while to clear things up. Now then, in terms of pit strategy, I would imagine that we will see quite a lot of people stopping on this one. If they stop now, then they are definitely going to be able to make it through on one more stop to finish off this race, and that's something that I expect a lot of people to be coming into the pits once the pit lane opens. But remember, when it first goes yellow, they actually close the pits initially, then they open the pits for drivers on the lead lap, and we've got some 9 or 10 cars on the lead lap at the moment. So those 9 cars, I think, we'll expect to see coming in.
And you'll also notice they'll wait till the end of this yellow. They don't generally do it right away. They try and wait till the end to make sure they get all the fuel they can, so they don't have to stop sooner the next time. Zanardi, though, off big time.
I wonder if we're going to get a chance to see a replay of this. Of course, Japanese television covering this race for the first time. And let's see if they manage to pick up on the onboard camera. Well, the car just running wider and wider and out into the wall. He just got off the line, but I wonder why the car started to run so wide initially, whether that was Alex's mistake or whether just lost some downforce. Very difficult to tell from that picture.
And amazingly, he managed to get it slowed down pretty quick. But there you could see he was doing nothing to try and avoid hitting the wall. Well, at that point, there's nothing you can do, because they're out on the marbles, up on the rubber, or the rubber little bits off the wheels, and there's no steering capability, so he just went along for the ride there.
Greg Moore has decided to come into the pit, so he's the first of the leaders. to decide to come in, running in third place, remember, before this yellow flag came out. Alex going on a little training run to get back to the pit lane, no problem for him, but great disappointment to see him out of the race so early on. We're now a little bit around...
Usual to see that. They normally have the mandatory infield medical centre visit, and you get picked up by the CART guys and they take you there, but Alex has opted to run back.
Well, I don't think there's much chance of him going out again, but I should think the medics will grab him once he gets back to the pits and take him off for the statutory check. Greg Moore back out of the pits then, but he's the only one of the leaders who's decided to come in on this one, which is interesting. Fernandez, Alonso Jr. and Bobby Rahal all staying out there. Jimmy Vasser back up to fourth before this yellow flag came out. Greg Moore now rejoining a little further down. Out now, right up to Zanardi. So 20 cars still running out of the 30 that originally started, and now we're getting set for the fun and games to begin again, because Adrian Fernandez is going to lead them round to the green flag on this lap, and he's got to try and outpace Alonso Jr. on the restart.
Alonso Jr. is the master of the restarts too, especially on the ovals. We saw when he was out front, he jumped out to a good lead when he was leading on the restart. Now he doesn't let Adrian go away at all. He stays right with him.
Yeah, right behind Fernandez car as they come down into turn one. This corner taken flat out, at least when the tyres are warm it is. It's a little bit scary when the tyres are cold, when you've been sitting behind the pace car, to know just how committed to be into that corner. Then building up some more speed, more momentum on the backstretch. A little dab on the brakes into turns 3 and 4, the tighter part of this egg-shaped oval, before coming back onto the start-finish straight once again. And Fernandez seems to have done enough there on that restart lap to be able to maintain the advantage over Alonso Jr. Bobby Rahal dropping back a little bit in third, then Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy, with Tony Kanaan, Gilles de Ferran, Dario Franchitti and Greg Moore. And we'll keep an eye on Greg Moore. Remember, he decided to come into the pits on that last stop, and that could help him towards the end of the race.
He'll be on brand new fresh tyres. Of course, the car will weigh a little bit more as it's got full tanks right now. And as you mentioned, Adrian Fernandez did a great job of just keeping enough distance between himself and Alonso Jr. Because if Al Jr. can get about another 10 feet closer, he'll then pick up the tow, and then he'll close that gap instantly. And then, of course, he'll have the momentum to pull out and go for the lead, as we see on the super speedways. But we're getting a lot of tow here on this shorter oval, 1.549 mile an hour oval. So it's going to be an interest if he can get just a little bit closer to get that tow.
So Adrian Fernandez then looking to try and take his second career win in the championship, second to the win he had in Toronto in 1996. That's his only win so far.
Unfortunately for him, it was a win he couldn't really enjoy either, because that was unfortunately the tragic day we lost Jeff Kosnoff. So Adrian, I'm sure, would like to win one for real and on an oval. As he's known as a road course driver.
And who spent much of his formative career in the UK, as we mentioned last time out, in Homestead, and raced Formula Ford very successfully in the UK, and then moved back over to race in Mexico, winning in the Mexican F3 Championship, won the F3 Championship in Mexico in 1991, and then raced in the Indy Lights Series. Was Rookie of the Year in 1992 before starting his competition in the CART Championship in 1993, starting out for Rick Gallas. In fact, started at Long Beach, which of course is the next race on the calendar for all these guys. A lot of travelling over a couple of weeks as they race just 7 days later in Long Beach around the streets of the California street track.
And that's a track that Alonso Jr. has owned, although not the last couple of years. Many victories coming there. They call it the streets of Alonso Jr. And if he can get his car to perform as well as it is today, he'll be a big threat there again.
So Bobby Rahal running in third place. This is one of the more competitive runs we've seen from Bobby for a while. I think the last time we saw him running so well was the Rio race last year, which he came so close to winning, remember?
And he ran out of fuel. Tough break there for him. Maybe he likes it when they go and race on foreign soil. Scott Pruitt does. He won in Australia last year. That was his last win in the series. And he also got married and had his honeymoon at the same time. Threw it all in together.
Yeah, well, it was a good time for him, but Pruitt so far not doing so well in this one. He's down in 12th position at the moment.
Package deal.
And then a teammate, Adrian Fernandez, still up front ahead of Alonso Jr. Now then, where are we in this race? Lap number 135. So we're about two-thirds distance throughout this race. We're expecting everybody to have to make one more pit stop and then really just the run to the flag from there on in. Fernandez has been one of the pace setters really throughout this race. Started on the front row of the grid, led in the early stages, then was passed by Jimmy Vasser, dropped down the order a little bit, lost out a touch in the first round of pit stops. The car didn't work so well in the latter part of his stint, but now it really has been working well on the restarts. The question is whether he can maintain this sort of pace over the next 20 laps or so.
We're seeing their speeds at the line, 209 miles an hour for Adrian Fernandez at lap 210 for Al Jr. But he's getting that little bit of toe, which gives him that extra mile an hour, and he is getting closer to Adrian Fernandez. There you see him, the nose of his Penske moving up with the Mercedes power.
It's great to see, though, isn't it? Good to see the Penske's back up there. Maybe going on about it a bit, but they've been such a fundamental part of this championship over the last few years. The Reynard chassis, which has done so well since it came into the series in 1994 when Michael Andretti took the first win. Reynards really have done a brilliant job in providing a car that is used by so many different teams, a customer car that drivers can just get in and go quick straight away, and it's given drivers opportunities to win races and really open up the whole championship to more teams, more drivers, simply by the fact that Reynard has been able to provide a car like this. But the championship needs Penske doing well, and it needs drivers like Alonso Jr. up there, and that's exactly what we're seeing now.
Well, I think we may have just given him the kiss of death. Alonso Jr. has dropped back a little bit, and I just saw him having trouble getting by one of the slower cars. And you mentioned Reynards, they provide so many teams. 23 Reynards in the field today, 4 Swifts, just the 2 Penskes, Ribeiro and Al Jr., and the 1998 Lola of Art Meyer. You see, Al Jr. has dropped back a second and a half now. He was right up under the wing.
That's right, yes. What is going on? Did we speak too soon there? Alonso Jr. 1.23 seconds behind on that last lap. Bobby Rahal still a second or two more behind him. Well, no, he's closed it up a fraction again on the last lap. Just another 0.3 of a second. It's just under a second now, and I think it could just have been some traffic there that cost little Al that time. So Fernandez from Unser, Bobby Rahal in third, and then 4th position for Jimmy Vasser. 5th place for Paul Tracy. That's a bit of a surprise. He's been sort of not really doing much in this race until now. Suddenly he's in the top 5. 6th place still Tony Kanaan, the Brazilian rookie, running quickly ahead of Gilles de Ferran. Greg Moore in 8th place, and 9th place for Dario Franchitti. Those 9 cars all on the lead lap. Then we get into the first of the lap cars. Maurizio Gugelmin 10th, Mark Blundell in 11th place, and the last points scoring position at the moment, 12th place, is held by Adrian Fernandez's teammate Scott Pruitt. Alonso Jr. still trying to find his way past the slower cars. Art Meyer, I think that is, just ahead of him at the moment.
I believe that's Hideshi Matsuda.
Ah, right.
Actually in the 43 entry, who is still running. One of the 2 Japanese entered here, running for the Della Penna entry. And obviously thrilling the Japanese crowd here.
Well, I don't know about thrilling, but at least he's out there. We've got 2 Japanese drivers in the race. Japanese interest in this championship really has been growing over the last few years, notably because of Honda's interest, because of Toyota's interest. But the good news is, Guy, there are some quick Japanese drivers coming up through the ranks, in Indy Lights particularly.
Exactly. We have Hideki Natori in the Indy Lights, won his first race, and a couple of others coming through the series that may step up into this championship.
And Japanese drivers as well, beginning to perform well in Formula One. They really have a great tradition of motorsport, and the enthusiasm has been immense for Formula One in Japan over, certainly in the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. Perhaps the enthusiasm waned a little bit over more recent years. Certainly the loss of Ayrton Senna was a great loss to Japanese motorsport. The interest, the passion for Formula One, a lot of it centered around Ayrton Senna and around Honda's involvement with him through those years that he was winning championships. The interest waned a little bit, but yet they still have a tremendous following, and the Formula One circuits, which goes to Suzuka every year, always getting tremendous support, and the fans just mobbing the drivers at any opportunity.
Well, and of course now Winston Cup that goes to Suzuka too, Dale Earnhardt and all those guys, and they have huge crowds show up for those guys. There we see, that was Art Meyer we just went by there with Adrian Fernandez, who continues to lead over Al Unser Jr. by 0.65 of a second. Bobby Rahal in third, Jimmy Vasser in fourth, and Tony Kanaan in fifth.
Yeah, great job for Kanaan at the moment. So let's see if he can hold on. But for the moment, Adrian Fernandez is our race leader. Ruling the roost here at the Motegi Twin Ring Oval, but only just over Al Unser Jr. Jr. is gradually closing that gap up, and then it just extends a little bit again in traffic, and then he seems to close it up again. It's real concertina stuff at the moment, but it's the Mexican with just the one win to his name up against one of the most experienced drivers, particularly on the ovals, with 31 wins to his name, Al Unser Jr. And it's going to be a fascinating climax. And don't forget, still Bobby Rahal, Jimmy Vasser and Paul Tracy in the top 5, still with a great chance of doing something towards the end of the race.
It's a great battle. We talked about the toe earlier too, that maybe Al Jr. can get the toe, but also he may be having a problem because every time he does close up, he then drops back again a little bit, so maybe he's having trouble with the handling of the car, losing some downforce on the front end when he gets a little bit too close to Adrian, and that's why he backs off, and he may just have to wait for his moment to do a huge lunge from back there to get up alongside him and then try and make a move. And as you say, the record, 31 wins for Al Unser Jr. versus just the one for Adrian Fernandez. In fact, Adrian has only ever led 18 laps, 17 when he won at Toronto, and one in 1995, one lap. So that one win coming at Toronto. So Adrian at this point has got to be, there you see Scott Pruitt had that problem. His teammate, don't forget.
Yeah, disappointment for Scott Pruitt, shaking his head. Teammate to Adrian Fernandez, it must gall him a little bit to see how quickly he's going up front. But into the pits comes one of our front runners, third place man Bobby Rahal. Lap number 154, there's some 46 laps to go, so Bobby just on the button there. He should be able to do 46 laps about right, and you should see most people starting to come in now for their what should be the last pit stop of the day. Clean stop for Bobby Rahal, no other cars in the pit lane to get in his way either, so that looked like a good time to stop for Rahal.
And you talked about the experience of Al Unser Jr. Well, this man is the most experienced current driver, 245 starts for Bobby Rahal. Al Unser Jr. 237, so this is actually that was the end of last year, so 239 starts for Al Unser Jr., one of the second most experienced driver out there.
Into the pits then for Jimmy Vasser. He's been running up in the top 5 all day long, the early race leader in this one after he got past Adrian Fernandez, the pole sitter as well. But has he got what it takes in the last stages?
Like a particularly quick stop either, Ben. Seemed like they were not madly rushing.
It looks like there was a problem with the rear jack, I think, because you saw the back of the car go up, and then all of a sudden I saw the jack disappear back up into the gearbox, and it looked as though it dropped the car back down again. I don't think they'd actually changed the rear tyres, so I think a little bit like Greg Moore had in the opening race at Homestead, it could well have been a jack problem for Jimmy Vasser, and oh dear, we're seeing some of the favourites really run into trouble here.
In the background of that picture too, you saw Mauricio Guzman's car being wheeled off out back into the garage area. There's Jimmy finally getting away. He's got to be absolutely furious, having lost a lap there.
Yeah, Vasser really dropping down the order, so it's not a day for Chip Ganassi today, is it? Zanardi out of the race already with the crash. Vasser now in trouble with a long pit stop that has dropped him down outside probably the top 10 as the rest of the cars make up the next lap, and that leaves Adrian Fernandez up front, but into the pits comes Adrian Fernandez. Now then, this is the pressure on the Patrick Racing crew. They haven't had a win in the championship since the Surfers Paradise race at the beginning of last year, and they would just love to be able to take victory. And Adrian Fernandez, a much longer lean spell for him as Al Unser Jr. has made his stop. He comes back out. It's going to be the battle again between these two. The Patrick crew goes to work. Keep an eye on them. The jack works okay. It doesn't drop the car down. The rear tyres go on safely. The fronts are on as well. And it's the fuel that takes longer in this form of racing. 35 gallons of methanol.
And there you see they just squirt with the fire extinguisher right at the end, just around where the fuel intake is, just to, in case any flashback or anything. There's no liquids there. You see that, everybody sort of wonders why they do that. It's just a precaution. So no problems. A good stop for Adrian Fernandez. He gets back out on track now. The key thing is to see when Al Unser Jr. comes by. He'll see him probably flash by just to the right of Adrian Fernandez. any second, because now Adrian doing everything he can to get that car up to speed. And there is Alonso Jr.
Alonso Jr. has taken the lead from Adrian Fernandez. A great stop from Penske, but can Adrian Fernandez now get back up to pace? We've seen how quick he goes when he's had a new set of tyres and it's all fresh to go. And we'll see what happens. Paul Tracy at the moment is our race leader because he's not coming to the pits. So that's the first time that he's led a race this year, and they are beginning to get themselves together. The relationship's beginning to gel, perhaps, between himself and Barry Green's team. It's obviously going to take a little bit of time, a whole new setup. It's the first time that the team has run two cars, and everything changing, new personnel coming in. It may take a little time to gel, but now Paul Tracy is up front. And let me tell you, Dario Franchitti is currently running in 4th position. If he continues to finish or be in that position, that would be his best ever finish in the championship.
Now here's the interesting scenario though. We know that Tracy has to stop, and we know that Gilles de Ferran has to stop. They are 1 and 2. In 3rd place is 99 Greg Moore, and we saw him make that late pit stop. And they may be considering the gamble to go all the way. Maybe they'll get a yellow flag at some point, which will help them. But then behind him is the 27, as you say, Dario Franchitti. There you see the cool team getting ready for the two cars to come in and make their pit stops. That's going to move everybody back up again, Alonso Jr. and Adrian Fernandez. And now in comes Paul Tracy, our current leader.
So Tracy in. We saw Ribeiro just going out of the pits a moment ago. He's still running, and he's up into the points now in spite of that nose cone change early in the race. He's now in 11th place. Let me tell you also that Mark Blundell is in the points. He's in 8th position. We've seen quite a few cars go out recently, and really it's just attrition that has allowed Mark to get up there into the top 10, but he's still going, and that's the important thing.
Well, he take it any way he can get it, right, Ben?
That's right, absolutely. He needs the points.
There we see Franchitti has come out, and now we're having problems with Paul Tracy in the pit.
Now, what is this going on now, for goodness sake? It seems to be a long delay there, getting the fuel in on board. Perhaps he didn't engage properly, but whatever it was, Paul Tracy losing a lot of time. And all of a sudden, we're just trying to keep up with the leaderboard on how things are changing around. Now it's number 99, Greg Moore, who leads from Gilles de Ferran in 2nd place. And then moving up into 3rd will be Adrian Fernandez, ahead of Alonso Jr. according to our lap charts.
I think he must have got back by him. Once he did get up to speed, he must have got back by Alonso Jr. Maybe Junior's last set of tyres are not handling as well as you would hope. They're running on Goodyears. Of course, Adrian running on the Firestones. He could have got a bad set of tyres.
Suddenly, it's all changed, and Fernandez is race leader. Can you see Alonso Jr. behind him? Not in that shot, you can't. And that gives you an idea that Alonso Jr. has dropped back quite considerably. There in the background, you just saw him flashing out of turn 4. But that is a big change for these two. Greg Moore is still our race leader. He's not been into the pits yet. It's unlikely he's going to be able to make it through to the end, unless we get a yellow. But, as you say, Guy, it's worth a try for him from his point of view. He's still on the lead lap, and he'd still finish in the top 10, even if he has to make another stop. But could Greg Moore hold on and do one of those amazing fuel runs? Here you can see Adrian Fernandez and Mark Blundell on track together. Mark at the moment in 10th position, just dropping down the order a little bit as things settle down after that round of pit stops. 168 laps completed, some 32 still to go.
Greg Moore over Gilles de Ferran, and then Adrian Fernandez. Alonso Jr., as you mentioned, dropped back. Bobby Rahal in 5th. And now we see that Paul Tracy is listed in 6th. Well, I think he must be further down that after that long pit stop, because his teammate Dario Franchitti got out ahead of him for sure. So we'll check on that from the timing and scoring system. Completed 169 laps. There is Greg Moore, who is our leader. Of course, the youngest ever winner in CART history, and also the youngest ever pole winner, coming off the race, or the qualifying at Miami 2 weeks ago. But I mentioned there's got a birthday coming up. He'll be 23 next month.
Well, he's driven a great race so far. He hasn't done anything spectacular in this race, but he's been up there amongst the leaders all the time. And now he has something like a 22-second advantage over Adrian Fernandez, and that's because he hasn't been in on this last round of stops, but it looks as though he may be coming in now, guys. Yep. Coming in tight, and he's got to make the stop. There's no way he's going to be able to make it through to the end of the race. And so on lap number 170, in comes Greg Moore, and the question is where he'll be back out.
Maybe because they had that last late pit stop, maybe they're thinking they'll just give him a little bit of fuel, like a half load of fuel, so they can get him out quicker, lose less time on this pit stop. But the thing that really kills you on the pit stops is this, the entry and exit of pit lane, and of course the actual speed limit in pit lane itself. You always hear the drivers talk about I had to have a good in lap and a great out lap. You see how Greg Moore does with the Forsyth team. This, by the way, is the first ever all-Canadian team in kart history, with Greg Moore and his teammate Patrick Carpentier running in the 33 car.
Well, it was a good stop, and it looks as though they didn't have to put in as much fuel, as you say, there's some of the other guys, so they've got him out very, very rapidly indeed, and that should gain him some track position. Bobby Rahal just going past, definitely there. But next behind Bobby should be Paul Tracy. Let's see if we can spot the green and white car of Paul Tracy. Well, we in fact switch back to our new race leader now, and that is, of course, Adrian Fernandez. His advantage over Al Unser Jr., 1.5 seconds. And this is really beginning to build things up beautifully now. News that there's a problem for teammate of Greg Moore, Patrick Carpentier. He's actually out of the race with wheel bearing failure. So for the second Canadian in the team, things aren't going too well. But for a Mexican, it's going great at the moment. Fernandez is race leader. To go in this second round of the FedEx Championship Series, and Adrian Fernandez has certainly been the man to dominate this race so far. If nothing else, he'll get the point for most laps led at this point, but Al Unser Jr. is still close behind him. The gap, 1.3 seconds the last time they crossed the line. In traffic, it seems to be that Al Unser loses out just a little bit. But the question is he just playing a waiting game and just looking for the opportunity as we get towards the end of the race?
You never know with the wily old veteran Al Unser Jr., of course, who was always considered the kid of the series. They asked him when did they first know he had become part of the series. He said, when I overtook my dad, Mario, and Gordon Johncock all in one lap. He said, I knew I'd become one of these guys. Of course, been in the series now for a long time, and is becoming basically a veteran of the series, one of the older guys in the series right now.
He's closed up a little bit on that last lap. He's gained some 3 or 4 tenths of a second, so they're still not all over for Al Unser Jr. He is, isn't he? He's beginning to pick up the pace as the end of the race approaches. Now he's beginning to make his move. A very clever operator. He knows how to work an oval track, and he knows how hard to push the car at each part of a stint. Not too hard on the tyres in the early part of a stint when they're brand new, when they've got a full load of fuel to cope with. Don't put too much heat into them too quickly, then let them build up more gradually. So the car's in good shape towards the end of the race, and he's narrowing the gap further and further. Al Unser Jr. has got it down to 3/4 of a second now between himself and Adrian Fernandez. Now it's down to half a second, in fact, on that last lap. So he's gradually getting closer. The question is he going to be able to use the traffic and get past?
Adrian got very close to the wall there in the heat of the moment. Of course, these guys, don't forget, have got spotters too telling them. So Adrian will know that he's coming up on a slower car and which way to go, which way is better for him, where the traffic is and where the problems are. Same thing, though, for Al Jr. is being told the same information by his spotter up on the roof. But the two guys conducting this too, Roger Penske, the team owner, and Patrick, two of the guys been around for the longest time. You know they are battling this on over the radios to their guys.
Yeah, and in fact, two of the guys who were most important in putting this whole kart series together, the championship auto race teams, Pat Patrick and Roger Penske, were two of the founding members of the whole thing in 1979, now into its 20th year of running, and they've certainly put together a great package over the years, and now they're doing battle on the track.
Oh, Al Jr. got held up just a little bit there by Helio Castro and Neves. That's cost him a little bit of time. Yeah, after that work, now he's got to do it all again to get closer and closer as we are winding down the laps on 183, 201 scheduled.
So Al Unser Jr., he lost a bit there. It was down to 0.3 of a second, the gap between himself and Fernandez, and just that one incident with Helio Castroneves has put it back out to 1.2 seconds. He lost nearly a second thanks to that little bit of traffic there, and that's where Al Unser Jr. does seem to be losing out. Fernandez is so quick in traffic. The Reynards doesn't seem to be affected nearly as much as the Penske in traffic, and Fernandez is making the best use of that, and he's now got a chance to do some more of that as he gets amongst some of the other slower cars. But the Penske's in there as well of Al Unser Jr., and he may just get pinched a little bit coming through turns 1 and 2, costing him some time. Junior now trying to run wide out of the corner. Again, Fernandez using every inch of tarmac right out to the wall in his attempt to stay ahead of Al Unser.
And as you heard Zanardi say, you can't just brush that wall anymore because it's going to bend something and cause some suspension damage, or at least...
Oh, there's been a big accident.
Bobby Rahal.
Bobby Rahal has hit the wall hard and comes down to the inside, hits the pit wall, and Bobby Rahal in big trouble in this race as we approach the latter part with just some 15 laps to go. We can see
great to see movement from Bobby Rahal
in the cockpit there. That is good news, but let's hope that they get the safety team to him very quickly indeed. Obviously, fire.
Oh yeah, the safety crew locking it up as they make their way down there in a big hurry. As you can see though, the effect of the car, the engine has broken away totally from the chassis there, which is it's supposed to do.
That monocoque obviously taking the impact against the wall, and of course the championship cars built very, very solidly indeed to withstand just that sort of impact. It's why they're a good deal heavier than Formula One cars. All the safety criteria they have to meet, the crash tests they have to meet, very, very intense indeed. And the safety crew here, the guys that travel to each and every race, which is a vital part of safety considerations, and it looks as though they're getting Bobby out okay. Well, that's good news to see.
You know, this is the last thing Bobby Rahal wanted after 254 career starts. He's in his swan song farewell year. The last thing he wanted to happen during that is be upside down at 200 miles an hour around this track in Japan.
Wow, what brilliant news to see him sitting there okay. They've got him out of the car that quickly, and just fabulous after such what must have been a very, very hefty impact against the wall to produce that sort of result. And Bobby very shaken, no doubt, somewhat winded I should think, but he is okay. Fantastic to see, and well, the three-time champion, there'll be a lot of relief down there in the pit lane.
Talking to Dr. Steve Olvey, the head of the CART medical team, the pits are open, but I don't think we'll see anyone pit, because now you don't want to get out of line, because this may stay yellow till the end, as we have only 13 laps to go, and no one's going to want to step out of line, and everybody's just recently done a stop. There you see Bobby Rahal, a little bit of a limp, probably got banged about in there nastily, but good to see him out of the car, Ben.
What a shame though, after what was going to be one of his best results of the last couple of years. Bobby Rahal though, the main thing is he's safe and sound. To decide this second round of the series, let's hope they get through this first lap cleanly and that we don't go yellow again. Adrian Fernandez hits the gas, 800 brake horsepower, onto the tarmac, and he's got to try and get away from Alonso Jr. But down into turn 1 and 2, Alonso Jr. is going for the wide line in here. Now then, how brave are you going to be on the exit of this corner with oil and water all over the place from that previous accident? At least it's pretty much out of the corner, and Adrian Fernandez has managed to open up a lead of a few lengths over Alonso Jr. Brilliant restart from the Mexican again, and he really seems to have the advantage on the restarts. Junior's trying everything to close up. Don't forget, Penske have been stuck on 99 victories since midway through last year. They're desperate for that 100th win, but Fernandez has pulled away, and surely now Alonso Jr. is not going to be able to close this gap in the remaining 3.5 laps.
It doesn't look like Alonso Jr.'s got anything for the young Mexican Adrian Fernandez. Fernandez just been strong all day long, as we saw right from the beginning of the race when he snatched the lead early on at the start, and now he is maintaining his gap over Alonso Jr., and we are counting down with just 3 laps remaining, just over 4 miles to go. Can Adrian Fernandez hang on to that lead? Gilles de Ferran not in this battle, he's 3rd overall, but further back in the pack, and then Paul Tracy and Greg Moore battling for 4th and 5th. Here's Gilles de Ferran with Dario Franchitti running alongside him.
Yeah, absolutely. Dario Franchitti is a lap down, running in 8th place. But let's get back to our race leader, Adrian Fernandez, looking for the second win of his career. And what a brilliant drive this has been throughout the whole afternoon. He's been right on the pace all the time. The car has run beautifully all the way through as well. It's almost a year exactly since Patrick Racing won their last race, courtesy of Scott Pruitt in Australia. That was a race where they inherited the win to a certain extent, with Tracy and Zanardi taking each other out. But this time, as he goes on to the last lap, Adrian Fernandez has done everything to earn this victory. And what a brilliant comeback it's been after such a disappointing 1997 season, when the Lola car that he was running was so uncompetitive. even though he got that third place in the last round. It's all come good for Adrian Fernandez now for 1998. He's coming out of the final corner, out of turn 4, and Adrian Fernandez wins round 2 of the championship in Japan. A fantastic drive all the way through. Faultless performance from the Mexican. He couldn't have done it any better.
Unbelievable run for Adrian Fernandez. That's fantastic. You see Alonso Jr., his mate, comes up to salute him on a great race. He knew he had nothing for him. Al settles for second and gets some points. Gilles de Ferran in third, Greg Moore in fourth, and Paul Tracy in fifth. Now, all they got to do is Adrian Fernandez. They got to teach him how to win in America. He wins in Canada, he wins in Japan, but now he's got to start winning in America.
Well, that's great news, though, and for all these Mexican supporters as well. There's a tremendous following for the championship there. They will be over the moon. Well, a brilliant performance there from Adrian Fernandez, the winner here in Japan from Alonso Jr., who certainly has shown that Penske are back. Gilles de Ferran third, Greg Moore fourth, and takes the championship lead courtesy of that. Paul Tracy fifth, and Tony Kanaan, the top rookie, in sixth place, and that a really tremendous performance. Jimmy Vasser seventh, Dario Franchitti, his best result ever, with an 8th place, Andre Ribeiro 9th, Mark Blundell 10th, Helio Castroneves in 11th place, and Gualter Sales doing a great job just coming back into the series and scoring that last point for 12th. Max Papis, Michael Andretti, Arndt Meyer, Hiro Matsushita and Hideshi Matsuda were all runners at the finish. Bobby Rahal classified 17th in spite of that heart-rending accident towards the end, which thankfully he was able to walk away from. And everybody else in the order failed to finish the race today. But Guy, an interesting race, fascinating to see another new winner, well, new winner for this year, and only his second win of his career for Adrian Fernandez.
And a couple of other interesting things at the beginning of the season. Everybody talked about the new Mercedes engine, the new Honda. Well, Ford has now won the first 2 races of the year. A great result for Adrian Fernandez. And also Helio Castroneves, the first rookie to score some points in the 1998 season.
Yeah, although Tony Kanaan, in fact, was higher than Helio,
yes.
but both of them scoring today, so both of them doing a brilliant job. The rookies really very highly rated from Brazil, particularly those two. Adrian Fernandez then, as you say, with that Ford power doing such a good job, and then on Honda territory. Unfortunately, yes. Honda hoping for great things on their own oval here, but it didn't quite work out for them that way, did it? And
Firestone obviously happy to come away with a win, but it's going to be a good battle. As you take a look at the point standings, you mentioned that Greg Moore will be in the lead, but a bonus point to Adrian for leading the most lap ties him in the championship with 29 apiece. Michael Andretti with 21, all those points coming from Miami. Gilles de Ferran picks up 14 more points today. Alonso Jr. scores his first 16 of the year as we work our way down the list. Christian Fittipaldi, no points today. Paul Tracy picks up his first 10 of the year, as does Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, and Jimmy Vasser scoring points for the first time too. There you see the beautiful wife, that's Tanya, the wife. She's from Australia, and Adrian met her down at the Australian Grand Prix.
That's right, and those two very happy today after the win here in Japan.
I'm very excited. The Patrick team, my engineer John Ward, did a great job on my crew. We just worked really hard since the last race, and we managed to keep all the bad mistakes away from us this race. And you know, this goes to my crew. They just did a great job, and I'm happy to win the first Japanese race.
You know, we've been worried about your health condition because someone told us you got a bad stomach ache since early in the morning.
Yeah, I want to get sick again. Last night, I mean, from 3 p.m. to all night, I was vomiting, and you know, it was really bad. But I tell you, I think next time I'm going to get sick again.
But you had a great race. Everything was on your schedule.
Yeah, the car was great at the beginning. The car was a little bit loose. Hey, but thank you, my friend.
Good choice.
This is what I needed, man. Yeah, I feel great now.
And what did you say to your wife? Beautiful wife.
Oh, yeah. My wife, the best thing.
So what will be your next goal then?
Oh, just to keep winning races and, you know, and go for the championship. I think I have the team. I have a great guys, a great engineer in John Ward. I mean, I'm very happy. I feel very confident. I'm driving, I think, good. And, you know, if we can keep all the momentum through the year, you know, it will be great.
You know, as the first winner, you're going to leave your handprint and also signature at this race course. How do you feel about that?
I'm very proud. This is a great facility. You know, you know, all the people from Honda, I have to take my hand out of them because they did a great job. This is first-class facility. I'm you know, good job. And but I'm very happy to win with my 4 Firestone Reina combination and Tecate and Quaker State. You know, they were all behind us, and I'm happy for Mexico, you know.